It's been a while since we've done a sonnet. I think it's time. Let's get back into this. Am I talking? Am I speaking? Nothing highbrow here. This is low-hanging Shakespeare. It's now been about 2 weeks since I looked at anything Shakespeare. Let's dive into this cold read. Those hours that with gentle work did frame the lovely gaze where every eye doth dwell, will play the tyrants to the very same, and that unfair which fairly doth excel. For never resting time leads summer on to hideous winter, and confounds him there. Sap checked with frost, and lusty leaves quite gone, beauty o'ersnowed, and bareness everywhere. Then, were not summer's distillation left, a liquid prisoner pent in walls of glass, beauty's effect with beauty were bereft, nor it nor no remembrance what it was, but flowers distilled, though they with winter meet, least but their show, their substance still lives sweet. You know what? If nothing else, I hope my YouTube channel gives people a little confidence in their own ability to read out loud. Time to go line by line through the first quatrain. Here we go. Those hours that with gentle work did frame. We'll first notice that this is the start of a sentence. There is no punctuation at the end. That means that we probably should just go ahead and continue on to the second line so that we can have the context for whatever this first line is talking about before we go in and try to figure out what it means. Those hours that with gentle work did frame the lovely gaze where every eye doth dwell. The hours that you've spent carefully crafting the face or the thing that everybody's looking at. Initial thought, are we talking about putting on makeup? Are we talking about, we're obviously talking about making babies. This is Shakespeare here. He loves that. The time you spent carefully crafting that beautiful thing that everyone's looking at. Let's read on and find out. Will play the tyrants to the very same. What will be tyrannical? I think maybe the hours. There's been a theme throughout all of these other sonnets so far. Time moves forward and takes things from you, usually your beauty and your youth, the time that you spent carefully crafting this youthful, beautiful creature that you are. Eventually, that same time that you're wasting on yourself is going to, in some way, fuck everything up. Time is tyrannical and against youth, and that unfair which fairly doth excel. This sonnet's really hard. Is this sonnet really difficult because I'm out of practice? Is it just really wordy? Have I maybe not had enough wine yet? Two of those factors I can fix. The wordiness, I'm afraid, is beyond the scope of my capability. The hours will continue on, time will continue on, and eventually what? So I think I've been thinking about the word unfair and fairly in a way that's making this pair of lines really confusing. I'm thinking of them in modern context, like quality. I think I should be thinking of them more like fair, like beautiful. So the time is not pretty, and it's going to essentially make you not pretty too. I think that could be the kind of dual meaning between unfair and fairly, is that it's not pretty, but it is equal. How can I possibly put that into words? And it's not pretty, but it's equal for all people. Whew. That was a hell of a first quatrain. I hope my understanding of it sets us up for an easier time with the next two quatrains. But I've got a feeling that we might have to go back and revise it after we've read some more. Something might become clearer as we get more context. But for now, let's leave it as it is. For never resting time leads summer on. Again, no punctuation at the end, so maybe let's take that first pair of lines together. For never resting time leads summer on to hideous winter and confounds him there. Because time never stops, summer is eventually going to become winter, and who knows, maybe it'll be winter forever. Not in this climate. I have a fan going, because if I didn't, I would melt. Because time does not stop, and summer becomes ugly winter, and it might just be cold forever. Sap checked with frost, and lusty leaves quite gone. I love the phrase lusty leaves. Lusty leaves. The sap in the trees turns to ice, and all of the beautiful green foliage, well, there isn't any. It's quite gone. Beauty, or snowed, and bareness everywhere. Personally, I really like the snow. I think that just a nice layer of snow just covering the ground and covering the trees is one of the most spectacularly, simply beautiful things on our planet. But apparently, in Shakespeare's time, it wasn't as exciting as it might be nowadays. Winter back then was when you might die, I guess. Might run out of food, might get too cold, whatever. Nowadays, it's like, only 80 degrees. So I guess that means it's winter. Everything is bare and covered in snow. This episode has become essentially a PSA for climate change, and I am not sorry about that. Last quatrain. Let's get into it. Then were not summer's distillation left. Distillation. We're probably talking about a perfume, something distilled from the flowers of spring and summertime. If we don't have that thing, that leftover piece of summer, ... a liquid prisoner pent in walls of glass. The distillation would be the liquid prisoner. When you make a perfume, they become stuck inside the bottle, aka the walls of glass, where they are prisoner. A perfume stuck in a bottle. I wonder what Elizabethan perfume smelled like. Because, it would have to be strong, right? Because people probably weren't bathing as much, and there was in the streets and piss on the walls, so... Yeah, your perfume, you'd want it to be pungent. Beauty's effect with beauty were bereft. Bereft means missing. We've got beauty interacting with another kind of beauty or another thing of beauty. In my head, it makes me think of a beautiful person and a beautiful person, and they interact. If you don't distill some rose water with the flowers of the summertime and keep it in a little glass bottle, beauty cannot be prolonged. nor no remembrance what it was. And there's not even any memory of it. It's just gone. And it won't even be remembered at all. Third quatrain, done. Time for rhyming couplet. Rhyming couplet time. Rhyming couplet time. Time to rhyme. The time is nigh for wine and rhyme. I'm feeling fine. But flowers distilled, though they with winter meet, least but their show, their substance still lives sweet. If you've taken the summertime flowers and distilled them, turned them into perfume or rose water, some smelly good thing, even in the wintertime, they're still gonna smell good. They're not gonna look good anymore. But if you've distilled it, if you've created something new with it, the looks don't matter. The substance, the essence of it is still beautiful, is still sweet. So just make babies already. But if you make a perfume, even in the wintertime, the flowers aren't pretty anymore, but they still smell good. Now let's read the damn thing. Those hours that with gentle work did frame the lovely gaze where every eye doth dwell, will play the tyrants to the very same, and that unfair which fairly doth excel. For never-ending time leads summer on to hideous winter, and confounds him there. Sap checked with frost, and lusty leaves quite gone, beauty o'ersnowed, and bareness everywhere. Then were not summer's distillation left, a liquid prisoner pent in walls of glass. Beauty's effect with beauty were bereft, nor it nor no remembrance what it was. But flowers distilled, though they with winter meet, least but their show, their substance still lives sweet. I'm really glad that that sonnet kind of warmed up in the end, because that first quatrain was hard. I really like this sonnet not as a commentary about how all pretty people should be making babies with other pretty people. I really like this sonnet as just a way to remind you that taking something and making something new with it is often a way to liven something up. Flowers are gonna die. Might as well make a perfume. Reduce, reuse, repurpose, and recycle. Tell me what you think of this sonnet. Let me know any Shakespeare questions that you might have. Liketh and subscribeth.